Alright, so what is up, guys? It's your man Wardog3 here, and I bet you weren't expecting something along these lines. Commentary. This is sort of going to be a smorgasbord sort of commentary. Um, Before I begin, gameplay in the background, we got Mission 6, Long Day from Ace Combat 7, Ace difficulty. I'm going to be showcasing, obviously, my plane through the F4E Phantom 2. My sort of setup, I guess, you have for this mission. I mean, Long Day is not really a difficult mission to S rank, but what I sort of use for this mission, for the F4, I sort of like to upgrade like the engine parts as well as a little bit of its mobility and the unguided bomb, because it can carry quite a lot of those. And to be quite honest, it works out quite well for an early stage sort of aircraft, and you guys are going to see that. I think I scored my record highest. I think it was 37,500 points at the end. But just for future reference, if you want to try out this setup, it works quite well for the Annihilation campaign missions and Long Day for here in particular. But yeah, guys, so I bet you didn't expect to hear this voice. I know it's been a little bit since I've made a sort of commentary, or you heard my voice, and I've sort of been like uploading in the background like a little bit, this and that, with my Ace Combat S rank walkthrough. And I've been really busy lately, and I've sort of been like on a grind for the past like 3 months. Like when January hit and Ace Combat 7 came out, I played it. I gave it my one playthrough because I was really wanted to play the game, and then I was like, okay, I'll put this away for a little bit, and I've sort of been grinding it out for the past 4 months. But things have started to slow down a little bit, so I've had time to sort of make a video like this. And yeah, here I am. So this, like I said, this is sort of going to be a smorgasbord sort of commentary. One of the big things is, so Ace Combat 7, right? So me, I've got the platinum for Ace Combat 7 ever since things sort of slowed down. I sort of taking the time, especially that one achievement, the frequent flyer or whatever. I just used a rubber band and sort of just flew in circles. I mean, I can't keep like playing like the campaign for real after that, obviously. Would have been nice if it counted in multiplayer. And I'm on my way to platinuming Ace Combat 5 as well. So, I had sort of hinted at like making sort of like a review, but here I'd just like to sort of give my general kind of opinions. I really enjoyed Ace Combat 7. I thought it was a great entry in the Ace Combat series. If I were to rank Ace Combat 7, in sort of like a list of where it belongs in all the Ace Combat games, I would have to say, and I'm being honest when I say this, that I'd have to put it at the number 2 spot, right behind Ace Combat 4 and right ahead of Ace Combat 0. It really is a great game, contrary to what a lot of folks have been saying out there. IGN came out with their retarded review. The guy, he didn't even go into VR. Not that I've played VR, but I've heard great things about it. I mean, the guy gave it a 7 out of 10. The dude was playing on novice controls. I watched GameSpot's review, which was much more professional. And, I can see an 8 out of 10. Angry Joe Show's review, I also watched that. Another, again, 8 out of 10. Me personally, I give it a 9 out of 10. Again, sort of behind Ace Combat 4. I really don't think there's any Ace Combat game, in my opinion at least. Ace Combat 4 is the best that's been ever made, that can sort of trump Ace Combat 4. But, Ace Combat 0 was before Ace Combat 7. Now, that was my second favorite. And I think I like Ace Combat 7 just a little bit more. And sort of to give you, like, a couple of general reasons. First off, I know some people said the story could have been longer. I definitely agree, but I wasn't disappointed by the story. In fact, I found it quite interesting. Initially you thought from the onset that, OCO was sort of being like this United States sort of, it was going back to its sort of expansionist policies after Harling left, where they were sort of, moving their presence all around the globe, and then Erusia sort of wasn't happy with that, and then they declared war on them or whatever. But it turns out that, it really was something else. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil it here. And the plot is a little silly, right? Like, but it was interesting. Like Osea utilizing an air squadron of criminals, as they attempt to fight against the International Space Elevator and the Arsenal birds and the drone technology. Um, I really enjoyed it. And the campaign definitely took some interesting twists and turns. Especially after you know Strider Squadron and Farbani. Those next two missions I thought were really an interesting twist that I didn't see coming the first time I played it. And you can watch my walkthrough if you don't believe me. My reaction was a little, even though I didn't sound like it, because I just sort of had this very calming voice, except when I'm angry, of course. I'm not really going to get super excited, even though I might be excited or I might be intrigued by a twist that the plot may take. Yeah, it was. I felt the story was definitely satisfying and good. And there was, in all honesty, it could have been longer. I just don't know necessarily how they might make it longer. They might add like filler missions and that, but I'd rather not if there really isn't any point to it. Um, there are a couple planes that are missing, for example, like the Nighthawk. I'm not quite sure where that went. I mean, again, sort of like little gripes, but I'm a big fan of the Nighthawk. I would have liked to see it in Ace Combat 7. I know there's DLC coming out, but I've watched and it's just for experimental planes, and even some of those are missing, like the Nosferatu. Um, my in my initial playthrough, when I did play the game, I wasn't too happy about the clouds, but honestly, you know, they're not terrible. It's just the Faceless Soldier mission. I'm not too big on it. It's not as bad as it was initially. I don't like it. I didn't really like it. The Pipeline Destruction, though, I don't really mind, like the Sandstorm and that kind of thing. And the missions did get better as time went on. For example, when you had the whole Destroy the Fleet mission, Stonehenge was another great mission, the Bunker Buster, all those missions, before the blackout when you were part of Strider Squadron were great. Farbanti too, Cape Rainy. I mean, they were all amazing missions. Spares were sort of Um, what else? The soundtrack in this game is I don't know. I'm not quite 100% sure how you say his name. Is it Kiki Kobayashi or something? The guy who's been working on the Ace Combat soundtrack forever. He is the man. I mean, Ace Combat 7 soundtrack is it's still as fantastic as ever. The hangar themes, it's like they're all so good. I can't pick a favorite. I mean, you Spare Mage didn't last long enough. That was another great one. And Strider Squadron, the new arrows. They're all just so good. And also like some other soundtracks, like the Farbanti soundtrack was great. What was it? The one where you're shooting down the missiles. What was that called? The Bunker Buster, the Magic Spear. That's what it was called. That was another great one. Even Long Day. Why did I pick Long Day as a mission to sort of commentate over? Well, first off, the mission's great. Old school Annihilation mission, no BS, and the soundtrack is great. Kind of reminds me, it's got that Deep Strike feel where it's just very calming, but it's got that nice rock to it. And the soundtrack in the Sandstorm, that was another good one as well. And also when you were doing when the blackout happened and you were doing that one mission at night, the soundtrack for that, it was spot on. I mean, really, like, soundtrack in this game it's phenomenal, I gotta say, really. And I'm really impressed. It's really good. It's up there with some of the other Ace Combats. I use Ace Combat 4 as like the gold standard for everything. I mean, nothing's ever going to beat like Kimona or Agnes D as a soundtrack, but there's a lot of good ones in here, and it really makes the game a lot better. So kudos to that. And overall, I thought Ace Combat 7 really was a successful game. So much better than Assault Horizon, going back to its roots. And even though there were some rough spots in my playthrough, I really had a lot of fun with the game. You know, the parts system was fine. The multiplayer, I've played over 100 matches of that. Um, Definitely a little annoyed by the EML cheese. Me personally, I don't have as big of an issue with quams as everyone else does. I think that, they're balanced in a sense that you need to put a lot of part slots on them to make them good. And I don't think that they're necessarily overpowered. I just think there's some missiles that are not necessarily as good of a choice. For example, why would you need multi-lock missiles in, a multiplayer mode where you're doing one-on-one dogfights? There's not really much you can do about that. Now, the EML laser, that's a little different story where you have zero time to react and you just get insta-death. So that's sort of my thoughts on the multiplayer. I wish there was co-op, but that's not really going to happen. Yeah, overall, Ace Combat 7. More so, I paid attention to the story. I thought it was a great story. And there's plenty of planes. There's too many. What's it called? Flankers. I mean, they all look the same to me. Just there's a ton of them. I don't know why. There's other planes where it's like, okay, well, we have two versions of the F-15. I don't necessarily know why. I can get F-15 C versus E, but like C and J, I mean, I don't know. They literally look exactly the same. So I'm just glad the F4 was in the game. And yeah, that's sort of it. The only other thing I will say is that I have the vanilla PS4 that I got like right when it came out in like late November 2013. So it's not quite on peak performances like the PS4 Pro or the PC, so sometimes I'll get these frame drops that are not necessarily the best. Again, minor gripe, but for the most part, the PS4 was able to handle it. And also the ending of the game, it sort of wasn't like the best. I mean, the last mission was kind of like, I get it was like a nod to the previous games, but I don't know, it just didn't feel all that great. Once you move past, like, mission 19, where you destroy the second Arsenal bird, that was sort of, I was fine with that. And, they sort of preached this whole concept of unity, which, I was good with. It's just the last mission, sort of. It wasn't, I don't know, it didn't have, like, the same feel as, like, when you were dueling Pixie in Ace Combat 0, or, Agnes D with Ace Combat 4, and just, like, the beyond awesome soundtrack and everything, battling against the fake Yellow Squadron, and even Ace Combat 5, where everything had finally come to a head. It just, what's his name? Oboshu Games, I think that's his name. I was watching his review, and he summed it up perfectly. He was just like, it's just a battle against two guys. I mean, that's basically what it is, and it was kind of annoying because it was the UAVs with the super maneuverability and all that jazz. Even though I did it, it was just, yeah. So overall, though, I like the narrative. I like the sort of Ocean supremacy. Rest in peace, President Harling. That was definitely a little bit of a shock. I didn't see that coming. I just don't think we were Mage Squadron for long enough. I felt like we could have been, but, I was fine with being spare. And yeah, it was a good narrative. I liked it. So those are sort of like my general thoughts on Ace Combat 7, because, most people sort of wanted to hear me get them out. And the Ace Combat 5 remaster, well, it's not a remaster, it's really just an HD port. It's Ace Combat 5. Not my favorite Ace Combat in the world, although I know a lot of people like it. After you play it a couple of times, the story's kind of and the mission design is very But, it was good. I got it for my money. And, yeah, overall happy with Ace Combat in the recent months and the recent releases. So we're looking forward to Ace Combat 8. And I'll definitely keep the lookout on the DLC and the campaign missions, the 3 missions or whatever. I'd like to see what they do with those. Now sort of, I guess, my plan for the rest of this video. So I've begun posting my take on the Ace Combat S rank walkthrough on Ace, where I sort of like to spice it up with plane variety. and sort of how I would go about doing the missions. Obviously, there's no commentary on that. I've been thinking, if you guys are interested, for me to do an F4 only walkthrough on Ace. That might get your attention. Maybe that's a little interesting. You know, Ace difficulty, you're using arguably what is the worst plane in the game, or the starter plane in the game, whatever you want to say. I don't think so, but you know, whatever. On Ace difficulty, if you guys want to see something like that, and you know, I can sort of work on like a full scale review of Ace Combat 7, like where I go into more depth if you want to see something like that. Some other ideas I sort of had were sort of some of the best missions in Ace Combat, ranking the Ace Combat, since I've already sort of opened up that discussion. Why Ace Combat 4 is my favorite Ace Combat, if you guys are sort of interested in hearing those kinds of things. But you know, it's all dependent on what you guys want. So let me know what you want to see from me, and you know, I'll sort of consider the content and whatnot. It's important to note that while I'm less busy, I'm still busy. I'm still doing work. So it's not like I have all this free time in the world, but I have more, and I can sort of, you know, do some fun stuff with it. So yeah, that's sort of, I guess, this sort of like update smorgasbord, you know, Ace Combat type of video. Let me know if you're interested in any of the ideas I've sort of posed, and yeah, I don't think there's much else to add. I still have about, you know, 2.5 more minutes to talk. I hope you've been enjoying the gameplay thus far. Like I said, long day, great mission, F4, great plane. And I set my own personal record here. I kind of like use the F4 exclusively for this mission because it's, you know, the F4. Not a great choice for a whole lot of other missions, but this is early enough where I can sort of deal out quite a bit of damage. But I might challenge myself and sort of do the F4 only walkthrough on my own and see if I can accomplish it. Again, we'll see. Yeah, by the way, this was Ace, so I know it didn't show it, but my aircraft didn't get repaired once I took off from the base or whatever. You know, I know I'm gonna get thrown in solitary for that, but it's okay. Speaking of which, you know, again, some of the characters in this game were great. AWACS Bandog, you know, it's just a funny guy with all the banter that he had, and I saw there were sort of symbols. Longcaster, that guy he's one cool dude, and the fact that his emblem is a hamburger is just hilarious, and he's always talking about food all the time. Like, in terms of the story, they had character, they were unique, you know, those kinds of things. I thought that was interesting, you know, and Bandog as well, you know, watching him go back and forth with you know, other guys, and when he killed Full Band, that was an interesting plot twist that didn't really go anywhere. But yeah, overall, I did like Ace Combat 7. I think it's a great game. I would give it a 9 out of 10, simply because I have little gripes with the game that I mentioned. You know, it can't top Ace Combat 4, but I definitely think it's better than Ace Combat 0, so that's where I would sort of fit it in there, number 2 on my list of Ace Combats. And yeah, guys, that's what I got for you. So I'm going to keep posting the Ace Combat S-Rank walkthroughs, sort of my take with the different planes and that kind of thing. Let me know if you're sort of interested in any of the other, like, series titles that we can go back into the older sort of Ace Combats, or you'd want to see an F4 only walkthrough. And yeah, leave it all in the comments below. Until next time, guys, I will see you in the next one. And I'm just going to get thrown in solitary here, so I'm going to be out for a little bit. See you on the next one, guys. Peace out.